Welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 234.
The way that I was raised and the things my father told me at the time, it was very small and kind of a funny thing to tell a little girl, but, you can do whatever you want. If you're willing to work, you can be whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. Just do it.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Have you turned your key and heard that dreaded tick, 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 tick because of a dead battery? No worries. I've got the NOCO Genius Boost Jump Starter. This compact tool fits in your glove box and features rechargeable lithium battery technology that will start a dead battery in your car, boat, truck, or RV. It packs a whopping 12-volt, 400 amp starting power and can start up to 20 dead batteries on a single charge. Plus, it has built-in spark-proof technology with reverse polarity protection to safely jumpstart your vehicle. The compact, ergonomically designed clamps are solid copper for maximum conductivity, and there's a built-in ultra-bright dual LED flashlight with 7 modes, including an SOS emergency strobe. It's easily rechargeable with a USB outlet, and you can charge your smartphone or tablet while you're on the road. Works on any 12-volt lead-acid battery. The Genius Boost from NOCO is the ultimate emergency tool that's safe and easy to use. Quality design, state-of-the-art technology from NOCO, your battery care source since 1914. Get yours at geniuschargers.com. Hello, automotive enthusiasts. Today I am so excited to introduce a very special guest, Tina Van Curen. Tina, are you buckled up and ready for a fun ride?
I certainly am.
All right. Great to have you here. Tina Van Curen is the owner of Autobooks-Aerobooks in Burbank, California. Autobooks was established in 1951 and is known worldwide as the resource and meeting place for collectors, racers, and enthusiasts of all types. Tina grew up in Southern California in a family of car guys. While at UC Riverside getting a BA and MA in economics, she discovered Riverside International Raceway and sports car racing. And during her tenure in the 1990s as president of the Alfa Romeo Owners Club in Southern California, she took the plunge and got involved with vintage racing. She joined VARA and ran an Alfa Spider. In addition to running the bookstore, she's organized the Best of France and Italy show in Los Angeles and the Queen's English-British show as well. Tina, I've told our listeners a little bit about you. Would you take a moment and share some more about your history, your business, your interests, and of course, your passion for automobiles?
Sure. I grew up in Southern California, actually in Pasadena. My parents were both born here. I think that has something to do with it. My father built his first car when he was 10. And in fact, his story is that his father brought home a Model T, and his father was not living with him at the time, but he brought the car home for him, and his mother came home from work the next day, and the car was all in pieces all over the driveway. Richard, what have you done? He says, I wanted to see how it worked. I'll put it back together, which he did. And then, in those days, he was tall, and, you could get a driver's license at 14 in California. And when he was 11, 12, he was driving, and nobody questioned it.
Yeah, wow.
He put the car, and he was always doing that. And, of course, I grew up with, him messing with cars and always, watching races and talking about cars. And one of the first things we learned on a long trip were to identify all the different kinds of cars.
Oh, very cool.
Something to do, and I always had an interest in cars. And my mother used to call it the subject because, my father and her brother, my uncle, and he had 3 boys, and I had a brother. And so everybody would talk about cars all the time. And I was always interested, and then I got interested in watching the races. And of course, what really did it was going to UC Riverside and going out to the track and camping out there and sitting up on the roll bar of the MGA, watching the race, and sitting up there inside of turn 6 and watching the Jaguars and the Alphas and stuff go by. Really got hooked in a big way as a fan.
Oh yeah.
And then it just never occurred to me that I could actually race until discovered the Alfa Club and the time trial program and then the vintage racing. And I thought, you know what? Got an email one time that said we need Alphas for the Alfa Porsche Challenge. And so I called him and I said, look, if I do all this, if I put the roll cage and the fuel system in my car, can I race with VARA more than one race? Can I just be in? And they said, sure.
Nice.
So I spent about 5 years doing that. It was great fun.
Yeah.
It's one of those things I never dreamed that I could do it, but then, of course, once you get out there and try it, you're seriously hooked.
Oh, I know. Yeah, definitely. And Riverside is such an iconic place as well.
Oh, yeah, and it just, it's sad that it's gone, but I'm glad I was there when it was in its heyday, and then I was with the Alfa Club. Their last event there was right before it closed. And everyone's joking, don't go off and turn 9, you'll end up at the 7-Eleven. Like the week or two before they finally closed it, and it was already encroaching on the property. But and that was a real inspiration for me, because I got, somebody just told me, come on out and, do the novice thing. You get to ride around with people, and you get to do a drive around, and, you get to sit in a class, kind of see what racetracks are all about. And I went out for a ride with a young woman in a Lotus Cortina, and the person before me, that she took for just for a little drive around on her practice lap, got out of the car shaking and white and terrified. And I said, "Okay, my turn." About halfway through, I'm like, "Could you just move over and let me drive?" How did you do this? This is so much fun.
Yeah, you got bit hard. I think I can see that.
Yeah, and I'd always. It's just one of those things. I don't care about football and basketball and all that kind of junk, but Formula One and sports car racing and stuff is interesting and exciting, and, of course, being part of it. I'm one of those people that whatever group I get into, I end up not just being a member, but doing a lot of work, and that's what happened with the Alfa Club. I joined the club because I ended up with an Alfa Spider, through a long story. But anyway, I ended up with this car, and I thought, well, and my cousin had previously been the president and one of the people that started the time trial group, but he wasn't really involved at the time. He said, join the club, you'll know everybody. Well, there was like one guy that I'd never seen before, but they all got to be friends. And within a few months, I was, on the board, and then I was president for several years on the time trial board. I mean, I kind of get sucked into these things.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Well, tell me a little bit about Autobooks-Aerobooks, your business.
Yeah, Autobooks is a really unusual place. I mean, it is unique. Autobooks was started by a guy named Harry Morrow in 1951, and mainly he was the one who started the 500cc racing club in Southern California. And he started working on cars and selling manuals, and then he graduated to importing English car magazines. Meanwhile, Harry was the guy that had the keys to Willow Springs. He was a friend of Bill Huth's, and in those days, if you wanted to go out and use the track for a club event or you wanted to go test your car, you'd come by the bookstore. Harry would give you the key on Friday afternoon, then you'd bring it back on Monday.
Oh, my gosh.
Give you the key to the gate, go out there. Here, Bill said, he let him have the racetrack. Okay, go have the racetrack. And I remember the first time I went out there, which was way before I knew Autobooks, there was nothing out there. There was a little wooden booth that they could put an ice chest in and sell some Cokes, and there were a couple outhouses and a racetrack, and that was it. But in the 50s and in the early 60s, I mean, Harry was the guy, and over time he grew from the Brit magazines to starting to carry more automotive books, and there was nobody else that does that. And over time, I mean, there still is no place like us actually in the world, certainly not in the U.S. And I've had guys come here, like the White Fly guys who are from Argentina, who've written all these books on Ferrari Argentina, Bugatti Argentina, a lot of stuff. I mean, they're well-connected, serious car guys. They came to see me, and they said, we've been everywhere, been all over the world. We've never seen, as they call it, a library like this. We just got back from France. Bookstores are libraries.
Yes.
But, the word looks like it's library, whatever. But, it's amazing. The place has been here forever. People know it. I still get guys coming in here and say, I used to come here on my bike when I was in junior high.
Oh, my gosh.
Retired. They're not in junior high.
So it's a true destination location.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you never know who you're going to see. The first weekend when we took over in July of 2007, and it wasn't even a book signing. It was just the regular Saturday, a lot of people there. I'm standing at the front counter talking to this guy, and I kept thinking, gosh, he looks familiar. It was Scooter Patrick. Yeah, and at the same time, I think other people were here, other well-known. Davey Jordan was here, and Scooter, and I think Dick Goldstrand, and all these guys that just kind of come by, all these old race driver guys. And we've had Dan Gurney in here more recently. We had Parnelli Jones in here a couple times, and everybody knows the place, and everybody wants to do the book signings, and they just want to come by. If they're in town, and people from all over the world. I was in L.A. I had to come by here.
Yeah, very cool.
Met a ton of neat people, and I feel we're sort of custodians of the place. I mean, Harry owns a store until 1969 or thereabouts, and then he sold it, and shortly after that he passed away. And another guy had it for 2 or 3 years, and he actually went out of business. And then some guys from Motorbooks came in and bought it up and saved it. There were 3 of them, and ultimately, after about 10 years of having a manager out here, because they were all living in Wisconsin, one of them bought the other 2 out and moved to California and ran the store for another 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy that I bought it from, Chet Knox, had it. He bought it in 2001, and then we bought it in 2007.
Very cool.
It was really funny. Chet was retired from several businesses. He used to have a header business, and he's used to always do all kinds of things. He's been a Corvette dealer, and he's mainly an Indy car, midget car guy.
Mm-hmm.
But he bought the store as it was just a hobby. He was a customer, and he liked it. And his wife was not thrilled. She wanted him. He was retired, and she wanted to travel and have fun. She said, "Well, damn it, when you turn 80, you sell that store." And it just happened that the time he turned 80, I happened to be here. It's a good story in itself how we got the store, but here we are.
You're the next caretaker. Well, we're so happy that you're there. You know, as we continue on your journey, I always like to ask my guests for a success quote. And it's a really great way to get the inspirational tires turning. You've done a great job moving us in a forward direction. So, Tina, take the wheel.
Probably the thing that's kept me going and makes me do these things is just the way that I was raised and the things my father told me at the time. It was very small and kind of a funny thing to tell a little girl, but, you know, you can do whatever you want. You know, if you're willing to work, you can be whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. Just do it.
Yeah.
All it takes is hard work. You know, don't be afraid. And you know, I never was given any of those. Well, you know, you're a girl, so you're going to be a teacher or a nurse, and your brother's going to be president. You know, none of that stuff. You know?
Good for your dad. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh, yeah, and it's funny because he was that way. You know, I thought he was kidding when I was really small. He used to tell me I should go to law school, and I thought it was a joke. It wasn't really a joke. I found out eventually that I didn't want to go to law school. But you know, but how many fathers in the 50s told their little girls you should go to law school?
Yeah, no, good for him.
Oh, you should get married and have babies.
Well, good for him. Would you share a story with me that instigated your passion for cars? You talk about growing up in a car family, but is there a pivotal moment as you remember it when you really knew you were a car gal?
Probably when I started playing with the Alfa on the track. I mean, before that, I liked cars, I liked racing, and I've always had Alfas, and I've had some MGs, you know, I always enjoyed driving them. But I think that really, I knew that, you know, I've been kind of, for a long time, like, you know, this is fun to do, but when I finally started doing this, and this is like in 89, 90, when I ended up with the Spider, not only can I drive around and have fun, but I can actually drive on the racetrack. You know, this is like, you know, this is what I want to do. And I think for all these years, I mean, many years after that as well as before, I've had a lot of different jobs, but primarily I fell into the information technology industry, and I did project management and program management and all this kind of stuff. And every time I'd get laid off or whatever, have to look for a job, I think, can I do something that I really like? Can I do something with cars?
Yeah.
And I'd look around, and the only place where I could get a job where I could get a paycheck was back in the computer field.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, you know, I was single for a million years, and well, I better get a job that includes a paycheck. You know? So back I'd go, you know. And it enabled me to race. It enabled me to, you know, own my own houses for years and have race cars and all this stuff. When had I been working in an auto parts store, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
right.
What I'd love to do is take a look at some of the roads you've driven down and ask you to share a huge challenge or even a great failure that you faced along the way in your career, or maybe it was on the track. I'm not sure, but the most important part of this has to do with how did you overcome that situation and what did you learn from it?
I've had a lot of ups and downs, but probably, you know, the bigger ones have been in my career. I mean, early on, actually probably the biggest crisis, I try to forget, I had been working in corporate jobs for quite some time. And an opportunity came up. I don't remember how it all started, but a friend of mine who turned out to be not a business person, he and I bought a flower shop in Hollywood.
Oh.
And it was great fun. But one of the reasons I dove into it was I thought, okay, I don't have to go back to the corporate world because my father's business, which I had worked in since I was a kid, he owned a plumbing business in Westwood, but I knew that my father was going to retire soon, and there had been conversations. I figured, I'll run this business, I'll get some business experience, and in a couple of years, I will take over the plumbing business. Because the flower business, you don't make any money, but it was a lot of fun, and I had a lot of fun, and it was at a time in my life when I really needed it. I've been working at Arco. I remember I used to look out the window of the 43rd floor of the Arco Tower, look out and so wonder, is there life down there on the ground? It was terrible. Everybody was unhappy. The boss was a jerk. It was a rotten place to work.
Yeah.
And then when I left there, I ended up getting into you know what, this is wonderful. Now I'm down here this is Raymond Chandler's LA. I'm down here on the ground with real people, a lot of weirdos. It was Hollywood, you know, but it was great fun. And then I made a success of it. But it's not, you know, you're never going to get rich with a flower shop. And I reached that point where, you know, the only way to really take the next step was to be able to expand and have branches, which means somebody has to then provide you with a hell of a lot of money, which wasn't about to happen. But that's okay. I forget what the heck, I will sell the store, and, then I will take over my father's business. And when my father decided to retire, he finally called me and my brother over and said, well, I'm going to explain to you what's happening. And he had decided that this other guy that had been working for him, who was the son of one of his childhood friends, that he was going to turn the business over to him and that he was going to buy it out over time and stuff like that. So there I was, like, oh, wonderful. Now what do I do? Because it is very difficult to get back into this. The corporate world is stupid, and as you well know, in many, many, many ways. And one of the many things that is ridiculous is that they look upon anyone who has been self-employed, even if you were very successful, they look upon that as a fault.
Yep.
They don't want you. I mean, you'd think they would say, all right, if you have ambition and you were disciplined enough and clever enough to make a success of a business, which you then, for whatever reason, sold, or you didn't go broke, you had a business, you had whatever you did, you'd think they would look upon that as showing initiative and showing creativity and all that kind of stuff. No, you're not a team player. You're not one of us.
Yeah, you're not a robot.
Exactly, and I never really wanted to be one. I mean, I worked at ARCO for 5 years, and it was a good experience. Everyone should do that kind of stuff at a big corporation in the financial area or corporate controller. I mean, but people in those days, especially most people would get out of college, get a job at a place like that, and work there till they retired. 5 years of that was way enough for me. I mean, it was a good experience. I learned something, and you learn how those places work, and there are things you learn about how big businesses work that have stockholders and stuff. But it's good stuff to know, and it does help you in small business.
I'd love for you to share one of those aha moments you've had in your career along the way. I like to say it's a time when the headlights came on and illuminated your way for a new idea or a direction that you had. And tell us the steps that you took to turn that aha moment into a success.
The biggest change that I've made, the biggest step we've taken is to buy the bookstore. And it really wasn't on the horizon at all. I mean, I had jobs. At the time, I was working for a woman that I politely called a wicked witch, and I was managing her business, but she, and doing a lot of things that none of her previous people had ever done, like, set up all of her computer systems and stuff, but she did not appreciate any of this. But it was an internet business. I learned a lot about how to run an online business. And I could see, I kept thinking, I can do this. I'm running her business. I should be able to do something, but what can I do and how do I get started? And it was just kind of in the back of my mind. I knew I wasn't going to stay with her too long if one of us would kill the other, but it was close to home, and it was like, And then it just happened. I used to run a group for like 15 years. I ran a local group that was just simply called Car Night. It's Thursday night get-together garage parties, roving garage party. Now, the typical, I used to go, and then after a year or so of being just part of the gang that met every Thursday, the guy that had been doing it for a long time, who started it, decided he called a few of us, like 5 or 6, and said, come on over, have a glass of wine, I want to talk, I really need some help, I want somebody else to start helping me do this. And we all said, sure. Well, I got there a little bit late, and all the guys said, well, since you were late, we took a vote, and you're the next president, you're running it. Oh, okay. So I did that. But, so I met a lot of people that way, but we were having one of those things at the bookstore. And as Chet was somebody I knew. He wasn't my buddy. I just, knew him. I'd spoken to him many times. And I just walked in. I said, hey, Chet, how are you? And he says, I'm fine. He says, I'm going to sell the store. And I said, you're what? And so I'm like, I never thought about being able to buy a business and get into it that way. And I'm like, this is a whole lot bigger than my flower shop and all that kind of, this is a whole different world here. But I thought about it. I talked to him about it a little bit. And then I thought, this is perfect. This is me. This is where I belong. I can do this. How are we going to do it? And luckily, I talked to my husband, and I thought he was going to say, don't be silly. But I said, look, come on, because he's very conservative. He's an engineer. He's been working at one company for, almost 20 years. But he's an aircraft engineer. He's very bright, and he's also very disciplined and conservative. There was something I wanted, a couple of times I've talked about doing something, and I remember getting an email saying, your cautious and conservative partner, meaning that was the way he was saying, no, we're not going to do whatever goofball thing it is you want to do. So I figured he was going to say, don't be ridiculous. And we didn't know how much he wanted or anything. I said, come on. I said, let's at least go talk to him and find out what he wants and see if there's any way in the world we can do it. So I have no idea how much money he wants or anything. So we had several discussions with him, and as it turned out, he wanted it to go to somebody that he thought could do it right. And he had some other people that were from a publisher that were talking to him, but they promised to come visit him, and then they didn't come. And he was like, he didn't want to deal with them anyway. And he liked us, and he just thought, what? He helped us make it happen. I mean, we had to come up with a bunch of money, and it was a big big leap of faith for us. And I say my husband still works at his regular job, which is a very good thing. But he's in here on Saturdays, and he loves it. He's a car guy.
Yeah.
We've only been married since 2001, so it's not like we've been doing this forever. But in any case, the combination of it was just the right circumstance, and it was a matter of he had the faith in me to say, yeah, sure, you can run that. I'll do this. I can figure this out. And it's turned out it's been perfect. I mean, unfortunately, the economy has not been perfect. I mean, the first year we did really well. It took me about that long to get them online, too. And, of course, part of my great plan was that we would put everything online and double our business. Well, that didn't work. I mean, everything is finally online, and we do sell quite a bit online, but it has nothing like what I had hoped to do. And part of that's the economy, and part of that's Amazon.
Of course.
But I've had, it's been a really good thing for both of us, and it's been an entree to many things. We get press passes for Pebble Beach and stuff like that, and just meeting all these interesting people.
Yeah.
And going interesting places that we probably wouldn't have done before.
Oh, fantastic! I love it. Well, how about proudest business moments? Is there one that stands out for you?
Probably when I was doing program management, just because it was a step up from being a clerk, and it was a lot of responsibility, and there were some customers that really, big companies that were telling the world, we're happy to have her and we're going to buy from you because of her. And, just proving to me and proving to everybody else that I could do it. Because, of course, being a slightly unconventional person and being a woman in a man's world, most of my career, and even here, I always had to prove myself, and there were always those who were, we didn't even want to talk to you, you're a girl, right? It's funny, when we took over the store, and I must admit I was very happy with that. At first, there were two guys working here, and they were sort of, they met me and Chuck, and then they learned that Chuck was not going to be the manager of the store, that I was going to be the manager of the store, and they weren't even going to see him except on Saturday. And at first, of course, it was like, oh yeah, really? I remember one of the guys, he's kind of a grouchy guy anyway, and he was you could tell he was very skeptical. And then after a while, it hadn't been very long, when somebody came in and asked for something about a Marcos, and he says, hey, Tina, you ever heard of a car called a Marcos? I said, yeah, sure, they're English, and my friend used to do the interiors for him, and there's a book on it right there, and he kind of fainted. And after that, he had more. I got more respect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
absolutely.
The customers too. All the old guys that come in here. The first time they walked in and saw a female here, they kind of went, huh? But in fact, it's very funny. Now, since last August, I have my assistant here is Anna, who's a woman, who's a friend of mine, who's learning a lot about cars. And it's funny how people seem to be just fine with it.
Now they're getting used to it. Well, let's have a little bit of fun here. What was your first really special vehicle?
Oh, probably my MGA.
And what was it about that car that was so special for you?
It was a real sports car. I'd had the MG 1100s, which are my first cars, and before that I'd driven my parents' big cars. But it was mine, and it was a sports car, and eventually I even got to paint it the color I wanted. But for the first couple of years, it was so much fun. It was so much fun, and I met some other people. I was when I was going to the races. I'd go out to the racetrack, and we'd sit on the roll bar and watch the race. But I met car guys, and they would look at my car and go, well, if she can drive that, maybe we can talk to her. And we used to sneak out. I had a friend that had a Spitfire, and his other buddy had an MGB, and the three of us would sneak out onto the go-kart track outside of Riverside late at night and zip around. Have a lot of fun like that. To do some of the slaloms. My brother had an MG midget. He's younger than I am by a little bit. He had a midget, and our cousin, who's in between us, had an Alfa Giulietta, and we used to go down to the harbor and do the slaloms and stuff. It was just really fun. It made me a real car person. It's really funny. When on the freeway, having some guys in a Sunbeam Tiger try to challenge me to a drag race. Like, okay, we'll do this, but you're going to win.
The Tiger might beat the MGA just a little bit.
Just a little, but they were at least, okay, I'm one of the guys now. They're giving me this, let's go. And I go, okay, let's go.
Oh gosh, how about vehicles that you've let go? Is there one in particular you've had in your life that you really wish you could have back?
I had a Julia Spider, a 1600 Veloce Spider that I had for a long time, and we did a full resto on it and everything, and sold it for what I thought was a lot of money, and it's worth 3 times that now.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. It was a great car. That, and of course the race car. But then again, you have a race car, but once you have a race car, you're committed to it, and it's going out on the weekends and hauling it around in the trailer. I can't run a bookstore and do that. So.
I understand. Now here's a really introspective question for you. If you were a car, what kind of car would you be, and why?
There's one for you.
Yeah, I'm waiting for this one.
Actually, I'm kind of odd. I'm just thinking probably something like the Lancia Aurelia Spider.
Ooh.
Definitely a convertible, and Italian.
Mm-hmm.
There's enough Italian in me that it has to be Italian. Just something like that, something sporty and a little quirky, a little different, but definitely capable, fast enough to have fun, and unusual enough that everybody isn't going to know what it is and you aren't going to see yourself coming and going.
I like that. That's a great answer. I love it.
It just hit me right now.
Well, Tina, up next is the last lap, but before we put the pedal to the metal, here's a word from our sponsor. Carpe Diem. Seize the road. It's the motto at carpegear.com, where you'll find The Little Red Racing Car, an award-winning book written and illustrated by passionate car guy Dwight Knowlton. It's a spectacular way to introduce children to the love of cars. It's an international award winner, and Yahoo Autos calls it the best kids book ever. Plus, it's printed in the USA. I may be an adult, but this kid loves The Little Red Racing Car. Dwight is finishing a second book in collaboration with Sir Sterling Moss about the story of his record-breaking win of the 1955 Mille Miglia. Check out Dwight's Carpe Diem brand, where you can find his books, shirts, and more that embrace his Seize the Road philosophy. Enjoy Carpe Diem at carpegear.com, and be sure to sign up for his newsletter while you're there. That's carpegear.com, C-A-R-P-E gear.com. All right, Tina, we're back, and we're entering the last lap. And you know what that means. The white flag is out. You've been on the track. Time to put your foot into it. And this is where
here I go.
Here you go. And this is where I fire off a series of questions, and you give our listeners some really quick blips of the throttle answers. So are you ready?
Yep.
What is the best automotive advice you've ever received?
Buy the best car you can for what you have to spend.
Great advice. Very wise. Would you share one of your personal habits that you believe has contributed to your success over the years?
I'm very organized, and I'm really very driven. I mean, I decide to start something, I will finish it.
I believe you. Do you have a resource that you'd like to share with our listeners? I know there are so many out there, but is there one in particular you think the Cars Yeah listeners would really enjoy?
Oh, it depends on what you're doing. If you're buying and selling sports car market, if you just want to get educated, read the Automobile Quarterlies. Every one you pick up, there's 4 things in there. You look in the index, I want to read about this car, and then you pick up that issue and you read that article, and then you go, oh, what's this and what's this and what's this? And there's probably something in there you've never heard of, and 3 other things that are fascinating that you didn't know about cars you probably heard of.
If we could only get that book back up and publishing again.
Oh, I know. I want to know where the archives went.
Oh.
There's plenty. I mean, everybody's got, not everybody, but lots of people have shelves full of them.
Oh,
anytime
I do
you're
too.
a little bored, pick one up and you'll learn about 3 new cars.
Yeah, and you can find them on eBay. I've bought old issues on eBay, so yeah. How about books? Now, this is going to be a hard one for you. I know you run a bookstore, but I have to ask you, if there's one book that you would suggest to the Cars Yeah readers, what would it be?
Unfortunately, there is no such thing as what Jay calls the big book o' cars.
Yeah.
I mean, there are those things, but those are coffee table books, and there's one sentence on every car they can think of, and you don't learn anything.
Right,
if
right.
You need a good reference book, a good history book on the mark you love.
I'll ask it this way, because I realize how hard this is, especially for the business you're in. But let's say something new that's out that just recently in the last week you've picked up and looked at and said, wow, that's nice.
Well, of course, the new book on Riverside Raceway.
There you go. Okay.
Pete Lyon's book on Riverside International Raceway. And I mean, if anybody was there, you need it. And if you never heard of it before, you need to know about all these things. And it's, you learn about a whole lot of people and a whole lot of racing.
Pete's been a guest here on Cars Yeah, and yes, get your hands on that book for sure. Listeners, you can find links to all these great resources at carsyeah.com/Tina Van Curen. And Tina's last name is Curen. All right, Tina, we're up to the checkered flag. And this last question can be a real doozy. If you could only have one collector car in your garage, but don't worry about the price, because today I'm going to write the check, what car would that be and why?
The one I really fell in love with when they were only under $100,000 and I thought it was expensive, which is the Ferrari 250 California Spider. And it's the only Ferrari I'd ever want, but the California Spider in yellow. That is the ultimate sporty car. And I fell in love with them. The first time I saw one, I thought, wow. And I'd seen a lot of other Ferraris. I went, that's it. That's my car.
What is it about that car that just tugs on your heart?
It's beautiful. It's quintessential Italian sports car. I mean, the styling is great. And I know it goes like hell and makes a great 12-cylinder noise.
Yeah.
And, of course, now it's ridiculous. Everybody was waiting with a $2 million car.
Yes.
But if somebody gave it to me, I'd drive it. And I would drive it. I don't care how much it's worth. I would not keep it in the garage.
Oh, I love that.
And look at it.
Yes. Well, good. I like that. I hate cars to just sit around in garages.
No, and there are people that buy them to claim that they have them rather than to use them. Not me. Got a car. Cars need to be driven. And depending on how delicate they are, you may have to watch where you're going, but you still have to take them somewhere.
Absolutely. They're best exercised like a fine horse.
Oh, yeah. Alphas do not take kindly to sitting around. Neither do
No, most cars don't. Most cars don't. Tina, you've taken me on a great ride today, and I knew you would, and I've really enjoyed talking with you. I want to thank you for sharing your journey with me and the Cars Yeah listeners. Could you give us one parting piece of guidance before you drive off into the sunset in that Ferrari California Spider?
I guess the best thing I can tell anybody is if you want to do something, you can find a way to do it. Do it. Don't wait. Don't keep waiting for somebody to hand it to you and then find that you're too old to care. Just follow your dream. And you have to be a little reasonable in life, but it doesn't mean you have to be bored and so conservative or so lazy that you get nowhere. Just you want something, go for it.
Go for it. I love it. And what's the best way for our listeners to learn more about your business and you?
To come by and see us at Autobooks in Burbank, or to go to our website, which is Autobooks-Aerobooks.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listeners, again, you can find links to everything we've talked about here at carsyeah.com. Just put Tina in the search box, and her show notes page will pop right up with all the links to her business. And if you're in Burbank, my goodness, go by this iconic place and check it out. It's amazing. But if you can't get there, you can see everything online. It's a wonderful journey there as well. Tina, thank you for being so generous with your time and expertise and for sharing your experiences with me and the listeners. I knew this was going to be fun. Until we talk again, I'll see you down the road.
Thank you for everything.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.